was called. You can line up to speak, and I just want to go over the rules we have for speaking. So all night long, this has been 1 minute only. If you have somebody who's willing to cede their minute to you, please tell me before you start, so we don't have to do this whole thing in the middle of your speech. Also, typically when we cede time, you get half the time of the person who's ceding. But if one person cedes time to you, I'll give you 2 minutes. Yeah. Okay. And I'm chairing this meeting. Thank you very much. So, all right, come forward and let's hear the first speaker.
Hello, I'm Celia Quest. I'm here, I'm queer, and I know lots of people who are against a domain awareness center who also vote. Homeland security will happen through funds and labor focused on providing for our energy needs without fossil fuels immediately to mitigate further climate change. Oakland government can take a risk in modeling that it will trust residents won't end up feeling safer if the DAC comes in. Oakland has a chance to instead model an urban center providing for education, jobs, generating clean food, water, housing, transportation, energy. When people's basic needs for health and respect are met, just civic relationships prevail. When they're neglected at the expense of collecting more surveillance data, no one ends up safer, certainly not the middle class. Thanks.
Thank you. Next speaker. Go ahead.
All right. My name is Rody Orbitz. I'm a resident of West Oakland. I'm going to play hypothetical here for a second. Consider I'm a terrorist and I want to hurt everybody. Let's say the easiest way to do this would be, say we have all of our security systems and they're all in one place. Like if I wanted to attack the city of Oakland, well, it's great now because the Domain Awareness Center ties together our fire department, ties together our police department, and these other two little man center. So I think the most ridiculous thing also is that you plan to, you don't have funding yet to figure out who's going to staff this. So you've talked about maybe the policemen will staff it, maybe the firefighters will staff it, maybe we'll have 2 people staffing it. I'll tell you right now, there's no number of people you can afford that will protect this from people attacking it, people hacking it. What I'd like to say is that if this system goes up, it will be hacked, and hopefully the person will tell you that if they hacked it, so you can make it better and you can make it safer. But unfortunately, what probably will happen is the person will hack it. They might not tell you that I can go in, I can, maybe I can stalk my partner, maybe I can stalk one of you. You can't build this up. You can't build this securely. If you think that you understand this problem, you're wrong. It's not your fault, though, because this is the job that you guys do. The job that I do is security, privacy, and internet security. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Nationally, we have a lot of surveillance programs, some of which we've only recently become aware.
Can you give me your name, please?
Edward Snowden. So there are a number of programs federally that have failed to protect us. Before the September 11th attacks, there were call data surveillance that started in at least February 2011. And time again, they failed to stop any terrorism, which is a justification for the system. Instead, what they're used for is things like catching General Petraeus having an affair or committing economic espionage. So if you want private contractors who work with the NSA and whatnot to blackmail Oakland businesses, build the system. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Snowden.
Hi, it's Don Takano. I'm here to speak on the Awareness Center. All right, so obviously the Awareness Center, in my opinion, has other agendas. They're being proposed by, coming by each city hall meeting to propose different, like we can sense this, we can sense that, we can sense that. I think the bigger picture here is that obviously the DHS has a lot of interest in this in this awareness thing. I also want bring up London for a variety of different reasons when it comes to surveillance. In London, where most of the surveillance is located, it's mostly in the Muslim population. So I also wanted to relay that to just Oakland in general, and I think that there's other agendas. I also think that it's ridiculous, and people who the awareness center is eventually it's how do I say this? All right. Long story short, I don't think okay.
All right, thank you. Next.
Aesthetics on there. I think that was the one you were trying to pronounce. Aesthetics. It's AESTETIX. Yeah.
For some reason, I cannot understand almost anything anybody's hearing.
Okay. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah. So pull it up to close to your mouth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me try it now. Eat the mic, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Okay. So I'm Aesthetics once again, and thank you all for being here. I think some of you guys went home early. I understand. So I just wanted to say that I'm a computer security professional, and I'm interested in an impact assessment regarding the human rights, freedom of expression, and privacy. So I just got 5 quick points. First, how are we auditing the vendors? How often are we auditing them? And are they reporting to city council or to the public? And within that, who has access to the data that we'll be collecting, and why do those people have access? Will I be, as a constituent, will I be able to query all the data about me? How long is the data retained for? And how is it secured? And finally, and really important, what happens if there's a data breach? Number 3, the NSA revelations have driven business away from the U.S. How do we know this won't drive business away from Oakland? Number 4, will this make all Oakland citizens suspects by default? And number 5, just to reiterate, will we be performing a human rights impact assessment? So, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Ryan Rising. I'm having my time seated also by Floyd Smith. Thank you. So this isn't what I came here to talk about initially, but I do have to talk about the decision-making process that's happening in this room. The fact that well over 100 people came to speak out against the Domain Awareness Center tonight, something that affects everyone in this entire city. 75 people actually registered to speak. Most of them had to go home so they could get up to wake up for work in the morning, and so they're not able to speak right now. And so what's happening is that we're not having a truly participatory democratic decision-making process happen around something that's going to affect every single person that walks, drives through, or uses social media in the city of Oakland. And that's a huge problem. Why that's a problem is because if there was a truly participatory democratic decision-making process happening around this issue, you would hear that there's a consensus opposing this system in the city of Oakland. And to keep all those people out in the rain and the cold till midnight so that a decision like that can be swept below their eyes by a few people sitting in a room making decisions for them is hugely problematic. This is something that's going to affect everybody in this city. Luckily enough, that doesn't have to be the argument that I stand on, because it was published today that all the other contractors that are being looked at have the same exact problem that the contractor that was just dropped from the city of Oakland's RFP had. And so the article that you all can read, and it details how all these companies are involved, states that a background check on each of these companies show that all of them have obtained nuclear weapons-related contracts from branches of the U.S. military or for the U.S. Department of Energy. So the biggest piece of this is that this needs to be slowed down. A lot of people want it to be dropped immediately, and I agree with them for the most part. But stronger than that is the fact that so many people are against this, and there's not enough room for a real decision-making process and communication process to take place, that y'all need to be the ones to decide to slow this down right now so that everyone's voice can be heard and everyone can come to the table on an issue that's going to affect everyone in the city. And if that doesn't happen, then this is an illegitimate decision-making process.
Council members, Paul Young with the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce comes before you in many of your hearings, public safety Safety Committee, dozens of hearings, and speaks out in favor of public safety. And we have spoken out before in favor of this Domain Awareness Center, recognizing that if not all, nearly all of the data is collected in public places where none of us have a reasonable expectation of privacy. Now, a number of the concerns I've heard tonight sound entirely reasonable, and I hope they are things that the city will take into account about how the data would be stored and used and accessed by others. But in a city that faces the public safety challenges that we do face, having cameras on the street that protect citizens and can help us to look into crimes later is something that the Chamber has supported, and we thank you for your consideration of that measure tonight. And we thank you also for the many public hearings you hold on this issue and on others. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
Hi, my name is Parker Higgins, and I have a time ceded to me by Mark Burdett.
Give me your name one more time.
Parker Higgins.
Go ahead.
I work for the Electronic Frontier Foundation, which is a civil liberties public interest group focusing on technology issues like privacy from mass surveillance and government transparency. On the Domain Awareness Center generally, and on the issue raised tonight, my organization has deep concerns about the proposals before the Oakland City Council. The DAC is an expensive and unrealistic proposal that threatens to grossly invade the privacy of good people across Oakland without providing commensurate benefits. A Senate report from last year found that with other so-called fusion centers in the DHS, and there are 70 of these across the country, this is a quote from a Senate report. It produces predominantly useless information and, again, a quote, a load of crap. That's a quote from the Senate report. At the same time, following the principle that a mosaic reveals much more than a single tile, the hundreds of correlated data feeds threaten to create what a former senior policy advisor to the FTC calls a database of ruin on the people of Oakland. Benjamin Franklin famously admonished that those that would trade essential liberties for a little temporary security do not deserve either. Oakland is poised to give up the former without even getting the latter. All this is to say, the bar for selecting a contractor must be set extremely high, and overlooking issues like the fact that all current proposals may be ineligible under existing law, or the issue that the privacy costs have been bolted on after the fact, is unacceptable. At the same time, the public has had little opportunity to understand the scope of the Domain Awareness Center, and much less weigh in. One journalist has had an open FOIA request to the DHS for months on the grant, and still has not yet gotten an answer. I think the facts are clear that the DAC is bad for Oakland, and I'm joined by dozens of residents here that agree. But at the very least, the City Council owes it to itself and to the people to give these issues the time and consideration they are due, and not simply pick from unsatisfactory options to beat a funding deadline. At a time when mass surveillance is getting unprecedented national attention, it is unconscionable for Oakland to push these plans forward without robust citizen participation. Thank you.
Next, come on up.
Marina Cookson, District 3. It's difficult to see how we can move forward with the resolution proposed by city staff, given the recent revelations that almost all, if not all, of the contractors that responded to the RFP and that would be considered under the resolution have potential problems with Measure T. So it seems like the only